All right, so hi everyone. My name is Landon Wood. I'm the Area 9 DECA president. The topic for the Google Hangout, which we'll be talking about today, is competition. So I hope you guys can learn a lot today. If you come in late, you can always rewind this video and watch from the beginning. So my name is Landon Wood, like I said, Area 9 DECA president, and today we're going to be talking about competition. I am by no means a professional when it comes to the world of competing. In fact, I don't think anybody's a professional presenter, but we can always get better. I myself, I'm always learning from other people day by day. I always hear the new tips, and all of you guys can hear new tips too. So without further ado, we're just gonna jump right into it. So a role play is made up of three different things. It's made up of your test, your role play 1, and your role play 2. Each of those are each worth 100 points. So the majority of today, we're going to be talking about competition and presenting, but we're going to talk about tests for just a little bit. So when it comes to tests, it's a 100-point problem. There's 100 problems. And really the best way to do well on tests is just to study. The more you do practice tests, the better off it's going to be. Things I've heard when it comes to tests is that especially multiple choice tests, is you want to read the problem and then you want to have an idea of what you think the answer is in your head. And once you get that idea, then you look at your options and then you go from there and you pick the best one. Odds are if it's kind of similar to the idea that you already had in your head, that's probably going to be the right answer. Because if you read the question and then you look at your options, you're going to get a little bit confused. You're going to see your options and you're not going to really know which one it is. So read the question and get an idea in your head and then go from there. So tests, they can be pretty challenging. I mean, they make the test to be quite hard. It's 100 problems. I don't know what the questions mean all the time. So what I'll do is I'll look at the question and I'll break it down, because the vocabulary can sometimes be a little bit challenging. So if you look at it, you break it down into multiple parts, you know, okay, I know what that means. I know what that means. Okay, that's probably what it means. That's my answer. So, and then you can go from there. But the thing is that because the test is worth 1/3 of your entire role play score, it's pretty important that you actually are confident when it comes to tests. You know how to do them, and you can do them well. So tests are important. Really, the only thing to do when it comes to tests is just practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the better you're going to be. The more confident you're going to be, and then you're going to do well. So if you practice tests, it's going to go well for you. So now we're going to go into the actual role play. Like I said, there's a role play 1 and there's a role play 2. So what am I doing right now? I'm basically doing a role play. So for the next 30 minutes, I'm doing a 30-minute role play. It's never been heard of before. So you guys can be my judges. Feel free to let me know how I do. So in an actual role play, you have 2 different parts in a role play. You have your preparation and then you have your presentation. So right now we're going to talk about the actual preparation part, things you can do, what it's actually going to look like. So what to expect when you go into the preparation room of your DECA role play. You're going to see your role play scenario. You're going to get scratch paper. You're going to get a paper, pencil, and you're going to get instructions. By the way, if you guys see me looking down all the time, I'm looking at my notes, just like you would in a role play. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just looking to see what to talk about next. So I said that you'd have your role play scenario. So I think we actually have one to look at here today. So we can I'll show you what one will look like. So this is an event situation. This is for a hotel lodging and managing event. So you're gonna walk into your DECA role play and you should see something that looks like this. So if we just read over it, it says you are to assume the role of a front desk manager for Capital City Suites, a locally owned and managed hotel property in a large metropolitan area. The general manager, the judge, has asked you to decide services the hotel could offer guests that have a long wait until they're able to check in. So we learned 3 things right off the bat from just this first little paragraph. The first thing we learned is that I'm the front desk manager for Capital City Suites, the place where I work. The second thing we learned is who the judge is. They're the general manager. That's very important. You need to know who you're talking to when you're doing your role play. If you don't know who you're talking to, then how do you even walk in and introduce yourself? And the last thing is it tells you really what the problem is, what the question you're supposed to answer is. The question is, what can our guests do while they're waiting to be checked in? So that's your event situation. The rest of it, if we look, it's all information, but it's not completely totally relevant. When you walk into your preparation time, you only have 10 minutes. You only have 30 minutes if you're in a team event, and you only have 10 minutes if you're in a single event. That's not much time. So you need to read over this very quickly, but the majority of your major information is right in this first paragraph. That's really what you need to know, because you already know your PIs. Because when you go to your area conference, you have your PIs already a week in advance. I just got my PIs the other day for my role play event. So you already have those in advance. But when you go into your preparation time, you're learning what the event situation is. So you need to read about that. So that's what an event situation looks like. That's what an event situation looks like. So then you have to have your performance indicators, and your performance indicators are very important. Your performance indicators are 80% of your total score, which is a whole lot. When you go into a role play and 80% of your score is based off your performance indicators, you should probably talk about them a whole lot. Most people, they just go in there and they just talk about the question. The question in this case was, what can we give our guests? What can we get them to do while they're waiting to be checked in? Most people will just go into the role play and they'll talk about that, talk. Next thing they know, their time's up, and they haven't even talked about their PIs. That's what I did for my first role play. I got all 10 points for the answering the question, which was great, but I barely got any points for talking about the PIs, which is 80%. So you need to talk about them a whole lot. Your PIs basically need to become your best friend. One thing you can do for PIs is you can do a 3-step plan. So you walk in, you introduce yourself to the judge, and then you talk about, tell them what you're going to be talking about today. You list all your 5 PIs, then you can go into depth detail on each one of them, and then you close and tell the judge what you did talk about. And by the end of that, you've talked about your PIs 3 different times. So your judge is going to be pretty fed up with you talking about your PIs. But guess what? They're going to be so fed up, they're going to give you all the credit, which is exactly what you wanted. Talk about them a whole lot, they're going to give you the points for that. Some people with PIs, they don't like to actually flat out say their PIs because they think that sounds a little bit weird. If you're in a business meeting, you just talk about these 5 interesting different sentences, that may sound a little bit weird. But the thing is a judge, they don't like to be confused. I've been a judge before. I've judged other people doing role plays. And sometimes it's hard to know what they're talking about. You have to know, are they talking about this PI or are they talking about this one? How do I give them points here and there? What I figured out best is that you just want to make it easiest on your judge. You want to go right in order. You want to go PI 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you just want to say the PI right out loud, because then the judge knows you're talking about that PI and they can give you the proper points necessary for talking about it. Because if you talk about your PI, but they don't know it, well, first of all, you're just talking, wasting time, but you're not getting the proper points necessary for talking about that PI because they don't even know it in the first place. So PIs are so important. They're basically the main thing of what your role play is made out of, but you need to make sure that your judge knows that. So also you need to make sure your presentation is organized. You always want to take notes. I've heard that some people don't take notes, which I was really surprised about. I was always taught whenever you do a role play, you always want to take that 10 minutes of preparation time, write down all your notes, write down your PI. So when you get in there, you remember what to talk about. You don't want to read your notes. You don't want to sit there and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to, no, your notes are not there for you to read. They're merely there for if you forget what to talk about, then you can look down and you see, okay, that's what I'm supposed to talk about next. So your notes are there to help you, but they're not for you to read them. So we're going to go into just some general tips now. So when you go into your role play, what do? You start out by saying hello. You want to make a great first impression. So you say hello, you shake the judge's hand, and you ask for a seat. You always want to do this. Some people, they don't shake the judge's hand, and that's a bad first impression. I mean, the stereotypical business stereotypes that we have is that, shaking someone's hand, that's what business people always do. It's no different in DECA. You go into the role play, you shake the judge's hand, and you go from there. You want to have a nice smile on, because if you walk in there and you're just, hello, my name is Landon. I'm happy to be here today. No, you're obviously not happy to be there today. You want to have some enthusiasm in that, which brings me on to my next point. So you want to be creative, but realistic. So some people, they're in their role play, and the judge will ask them, what was last year's sales? And they'll throw out a number like, last year's sales, we had $4 billion in sales. It was just fantastic. Well, guess what? You're a t-shirt shop. How'd you have $4 billion in sales? You have to be realistic with your numbers. So if the judge asks you, what was your sales last year? I can say, well, last year we had about 450,000 in sales. It was one of our better years. That's a very realistic number. The judge, they're going to say, okay, that sounds pretty good. But if you throw out a number like 4 billion, they're going to look at that and say, he just made that up, and that's pretty stupid. Why did he say that? And your judge isn't going to take you quite as seriously. So when you say numbers, when you make stuff up, it needs to be realistic. In a role play, you're basically making everything up. So in essence, everything needs to be realistic. What do you say? But you can have a little bit of fun with that. I'm not saying, you can only be boring in that, but you do need to be realistic. But you have to be creative as well. So the next tip is possibly the most important tip, which every person who's great at doing deck or role plays will always tell you this. You need to be confident. You need to be confident and enthusiastic. And I totally agree with this. Confidence is one of the most important things in a deck or role play, because if you're not confident, the judge isn't going to take you seriously. They're going to say, this kid's a high schooler. What is he doing here talking to me about business? He doesn't even know what he's talking about. You have to sell yourself. You have to make yourself known to the judge that you are here. You're a businessman and that you deserve to be here. But you have to be confident by that. You have to walk into the role play and basically own the stage. The judge will love that if you're confident. You don't want to be cocky though, because cocky people don't succeed. Confident people do exceed. You have to be enthusiastic. When you're talking about sales, you're talking about this company, you have to be like, I'm excited about this company. Our sales are going up this year. It's just great. Our sales are going up this year, it's a good year for us. Is that enthusiasm? Of course it's not enthusiasm. You want to have that enthusiasm because, you're proud of it. You're happy about it. So I want to talk to you about what confidence really is right now. So if you look at me, I'm wearing suit and tie. You probably say, that guy's pretty professional. He looks pretty confident. Well, the truth is, this entire time I've been talking to you, I haven't been wearing any shoes. I'm sitting here in my socks, but I look pretty professional on top, don't I? I look like the real deal. But in reality, I don't even have any shoes on. So if that's not confidence, I don't know what is. And it's the same when you're in a deck or role play, because you have 10 minutes to prepare. When that 10 minutes starts, that's when you know what your event situation is, and you go from there. So you walk in there and you start telling your judge about what you're going to be talking about today, and you act like it's a real meeting. And, being confident, you need to act like you really have been preparing for this meeting for weeks on end. You know the ins and the outs of everything you're talking about. In reality, do you know what you're talking about? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you don't want to let your judge know if you don't know what you're talking about. And it's kind of the same situation. Right now, if I wouldn't have told you guys I wasn't wearing any socks, you'd think, that's an impressive person right there. He looks ready to go. He looks pretty confident. But because I told you that, you guys aren't taking me seriously anymore, are you? I'm barely taking myself seriously anymore after I said that. So by not telling you that, you would have thought that I was professional. And you don't want to let your judge know that maybe you aren't professional. So you want to keep the confidence up, keep the enthusiasm up, and then it's just going to go great for you. Confidence is probably the number one tip I have for you guys today, and that other people have as well. So being creative. You also want to dress professionally. So the outfit I'm wearing for you today, apart from me not having any shoes on, it's a pretty good outfit. If you go to any DECA conference, this outfit will be accepted. It looks professional. The judges will like it. You can never go wrong with wearing a DECA blazer. It's your classic outfit. You're going to wear it at ICDC if you go there. So if you don't really know what to wear, going with a DECA blazer is always a safe option. All right, so dress professionally. You also want to relax. So right now I might seem a little bit tense. I might not look very relaxed. I'm trying to be relaxed and lean it back a little bit. But you kind of want to be relaxed in your deck role play, because you want to go in there and you want to make it easy on your judge. You may not know this, but it's kind of awkward for your judge when you go into a deck or role play. You might think it's only awkward for you because you're the one who has to do all the talking. It can be really awkward for a judge as well. Like I said earlier, I've judged people before, and when a kid comes in there and you're judging him and he doesn't know what he's talking about and he kind of loses his train of thought and he's just sitting there, it's the most awkward thing in the world, because you're judging him and he just stopped talking and you're both just sitting there. You don't want to let that happen. So you want to make it easy on your judge. You want to relax. You want to, before you go into a role play, you just want to take a big breath and you just want to go from there. I always try and do that. It lowers your heartbeat, so then you're so excited, you're not talking a million miles an hour, and you can go from there. So being relaxed, it's very important. You want to make eye contact. So right now I'm trying to make eye contact with you guys by looking into the camera. I don't know if it's really working, but in an actual role play, you want to make eye contact with your judges. Although sometimes it can be hard because you'll look at your judges and they're just looking around the room because you're probably pretty boring. Deck role plays aren't always the most interesting thing to listen to, but if you make eye contact, the judge will take you more seriously. If you don't know what you're talking about, and when people don't know what they're talking about, they'll oftentimes look to the top right. I've probably done that many times today while talking to you. But when they don't know what they're talking about, they'll look to the top right. It's just naturally what you do. You want to try and not do that when you're in a role play. It helps if you're just thinking about making eye contact with your judges. You can talk to them and make them feel like they're a real person, because they want to feel like a real person, because they actually are. If you're looking around the room and you're getting distracted yourself, that's not going to go well for you. So eye contact's important. Slow down. Slowing down it's important. I'm probably talking way too fast right now. I should probably slow down. A way to slow down is just to simply just take a pause. So you say something, take a little pause and keep going. After each time you say API, you get done talking about it in depth detail, you can just take a little break, and then you can go on to the next one. So the judge, it lets you slow down. You can get a little breath of air, take a little break, and then you go on to the next one. So slowing down, use significant pauses, and then you can go from there. So one of my favorite tips, something that I always do, is I always try and add humor. Now you're probably thinking, what is he talking about? How can you add humor to a role play? Role plays are pretty boring. How do you add humor to that? Now the type of humor, I'm not talking about making knock-knock jokes in the middle of your role plays. I'm talking about humor in less obvious ways. So for instance, one thing I always do in my role plays is I'm always married. For those of you who don't know it, I'm a 16-year-old guy, so I'm actually not married in reality. But when I go into that role play, I'm always married. So for instance, I'll be talking to my judges and I'll say, well, last year, me and my wife, we went to the Bahamas. We stayed at this one hotel, and it was just great, Sometimes I'll take my kids there, and it just always goes well for us. So boom, right there, I was confident. I kind of looked like I was actually telling the truth. And I talked about how I have my wife, I have my kids. I'm a 16-year-old. The judge knows I'm a 16-year-old, but they like that because I'm taking it seriously. The thing is, when you go into a role play, you can either decide if it's going to go really well or if it's going to go really bad. I just decided that I'm going to try and make this thing go really well. I'm going to go all out. So many kids, when they walk into their role plays, they're just like a robot. They do the exact same thing over and over, and they don't act like they're a real person. Right there, I tried to act like I was the real person in this real event situation. Earlier, we looked at the event situation. I was a front desk manager at a place. So right then, I just said, I'm married. I've been a front desk manager for 12 years now. It's been great. I've really enjoyed working at this company. I haven't worked at this company at all. I just learned what I was talking about 10 minutes ago. But the judge, they know that, and they enjoy that. So when you add a little bit of humor, it lightens the mood. They enjoy it because they know you're lying, and it's really funny when someone lies right to your face. But they're very serious about it. Have I laughed one time this entire time? I don't think I have, but adding humor always works well. So other ways to add humor are in your intros. So for example, area conferences are oftentimes right after Christmas. So an example of an intro, when you're going into your role play, you can say, hi, Mr. Davis. How's it going today? You introduce yourself, and then you can say, did you guys enjoy your Christmas? I know you said that you went to New York with your wife. How did that go? Was that great? Just stuff like that. Did they actually go to New York with their wife? Maybe they did. Probably they didn't, though. But just making conversation like that. You never met these people before in your life, but you're acting like they do. They love that kind of stuff. And every judge is different, but some judges will like that, some judges won't. But the thing is, you're always going to gain from it. You're never going to lose from it. If you walk into a role play and you're trying so hard that you're saying all this stuff that isn't true, but it's kind of humorous, the judge may not give you points, but they're not going to take it away. So it's worth a shot. It's up to you guys. Obviously, I enjoy that kind of stuff. I think it usually helps me as well. But it's up to you. So adding humor, it lightens the mood. It makes the judge feel like they're a real person. And oftentimes it'll benefit you as well. And it's kind of fun when you're doing it, when you're lying to someone's face and you're telling them you're 35 years old, you feel pretty good about yourself. So adding humor usually goes pretty well. It's up to you though. So just a little tip, if you guys are in a team event, and usually when you're in a team event, there'll be that time when you're talking, and then you lose train of thought and you don't know what to say next. So when that happens, you're talking and then you forget what you're going to say next, and then there's that awkward time where you look over at your partner and you realize, I don't know what to say. And that doesn't look very professional, does it? I mean, the judge, they're sitting right there. They know that you just forgot what to say. It doesn't look good, and your partner's like, why did this person just do that? It didn't go well. So a thing you can do to make that not happen is you guys can, before you go into your role play, you can have a pre-decided little secret code or secret message for what you guys can, when you realize you're about to forget what you're going to say, you can do that secret message and then the other person will start talking and start going. So maybe you can just tap them on the knee, maybe you wink at them, something like that. But then they know, okay, he's about to forget what to say, then I can take over. And it looks a lot more professional. The judge may not even know if you do it well enough. So that's just a tiny little tip. You guys are in a team event, you probably want to try that out. So to become good at role plays, you have to use your resources. I wasn't very good at role plays when I first started DECA. I was actually terrible. But I used my resources. I watched videos, I took tests, I did sample role plays. So what are some resources you guys can use? Possibly the best resource, in my opinion, is DECA.org. They have videos there, they have all the events, event situation, role plays. They have everything that you could possibly ever need there. So if you guys just need one good resource to go to, DECA.org is probably the best one. YouTube also, if you can YouTube just DECA role plays, and there's a whole bunch of them that pop up, and you guys can click on them and watch them. It's interesting, if you're not really all that good at role plays, or you don't really even know what they are, when you watch them and you see somebody actually doing for real, it helps you understand. It gives you new ideas and things you can do, how you should probably act, and stuff like that. So YouTube is great, DECA.org is great. WADECA.org also has lots of resources. We're actually going to watch a video from WADECA.org right now. It's just competition tips. So I'll pull that up right now. All right.
Hi, my name is Mike Seeley, and I'm your state president. My competition tip is to be confident no matter what. If you figure what you're going to say, or you don't know how to answer the question, say anything, just say it confidently.
Hi, my name is Briask, and I'm your area president. And my competition tip would be to start a few months in advance and work on your role play or your project 30 minutes a day and work that into your study habits so that you're ready for competition. Good luck.
Hi, my name is Riley Flynn. I'm the Area 1 state officer, and my competition tip is to use phantom facts. The judge may never know whether you've read the most recent edition of the Wall Street Journal, but it certainly helps your credibility.
Hi, my name is Lulu Kinsey, and I'm your Area 4 president. My tip for competition is a good-looking presentation is only half the battle. Make sure your content is up to speed as well.
Hi, my name is Jacob Heimlichner, and I'm your Area 11 president. My competition tip is to add something into your presentation that will catch the judge's eyes, such as a photo or a video. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right?
Okay. Hi, my name is Allison Lee, and I'm your Area 7 president. My competition tip is to pick your go-to move and use it during every role play. An example of this is thanking them for their time as you're closing.
Hi, my name is Alexa Mueller, and I'm your Area 6 president. My competition tip is to take practice tests to help prepare yourself for the hour time limit you have.
Hi, my name is Keegan Otter. I'm your Area 2 president. My competition tip is, before going to meet with the judges, make sure you take a deep breath and really tell yourself, you can, and you got this. Another tip before meeting with the judges, right before you go in and shake their hands, make sure to show them your beautiful smile.
Hi, my name is Marissa McFarland. I'm your Area 5 president, and my competition tip is making it to ICDC is going to be a cinch if you make sure that you're putting in the work every step of the way.
Hi, my name is Corey Martin. I'm your Area 10 president. My competition tip is there's nothing more important than self-confidence when presenting yourself in front of a judge, or to anyone in that matter.
Hi, my name is Mike Seeley, and I'm your state president. My competition tip is presentation matters. And whether that means dressing nicely for the day or having your paper look as good as it can, always spend time on the presentation. It makes a difference.
Hi, my name is Hannah Hunt, and I'm your Area 2 president. And my competition tip is to just have fun and to always be confident. Another thing we like to think about is that practice never hurts.
All right, so I hope that was helpful. That was last year's state officer team. So they just gave you some great tips. I hope you guys can use those. They were pretty helpful. So we're just gonna go on to just some other hints. So that was an example of resources. So I got that video off of wadeca.org. There's lots of others like it. So if you guys need competition tips or just other information on DECA, that's a great place to go. So other presentation and helpful hints. Hand gestures. So you guys have probably seen me go like this sometimes today with my hands. Hand gestures are interesting because a lot of the times they're just natural movements. He's right there, just went like that. I can't help myself. I'm just always doing it. Hand gestures, they help kind of tell a story. You know, you're talking. If I'm just talking right now, sometimes it helps if I just go like this. You guys get a general idea. So hand gestures and role plays often help. You know, it makes it sound like you actually know what you're talking about, like you look like you know what you're talking about. It kind of gets the judge's attention. Also, body posture. This comes with confidence. So right now, I'm kind of leaning back in my chair. I don't look super confident. If I sit up a little bit, you know, confidence level just rose a little bit. And that really shows when you're in a DECA role play as well. I'm going to sit back and relax a little bit. But when you're in your DECA role play, you need to be sitting up straight, confident, not leaning back, not, you know, doing anything, leaning on one arm, something like that. You need to look like you're the real deal, like you're there, you're alert. And your confidence really plays into that. So body posture is important. You need to watch the judge's reactions accordingly. So if you're doing something and you say something and then you notice that the judge, he looks back over at you, maybe you just got the judge's attention. So maybe you can do something like that again. And that's brings me to another point is you always need to try and get the judge's attention. Because if you realize that they're looking around, and that will happen sometimes, I know it happens to me all the time, you realize that they're looking around all the time. Sometimes things you can do is if you notice that, you can just clap your hands, make a point or something like that, and then you'll bring your attention back to them. They won't really realize what you just did, but what you did was you brought their attention to you. But you always need to have their attention, because if the judge isn't paying attention to you, then at the end of it, they're going to realize, I just didn't pay attention to this kid. How do I score him? I'll just give him halfway score. Halfway scores don't win DECA role plays. DECA role plays that win, you always have the judge's attention. Getting the judge's attention means you have to be interesting. You know, although you can clap your hands a whole lot, but then after a while, it just looks like, you know, you're just clapping along to a song. The judge, you know, you need to be interesting, because if you're not interesting, they're not going to want to listen at all. So watch for your judge's reactions and then do things accordingly. Use your notes, but like I said earlier, you want to use your notes to guide you, but you don't just want to read off them. If you're just reading off it, it doesn't look like you're all that professional. You've probably seen me look down a whole lot today. That's because I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare for this today. So it is really a whole lot like a role play. You want to use your notes as little as possible. Also, closing. Closing is kind of, it can be a challenging thing in a DECA role play at sometimes. I don't know if you guys know this or not. You have a limited amount of time when you're in a role play. The maximum, if you're in a single event, is 10 minutes. And if you're in a team decision-making event, it's 15 minutes. Now, at the state and ICDC level, if you go over that time, somebody will come and tap you on the shoulder, and you have to get up and just leave right from that position. This happened to me at state last year, and it's kind of, it's quite a problem, because if you're right in the middle of your presentation and you just have to get up and leave, and you don't even do a closing at all, it really hurts your score a whole lot. So you have to be time oriented. So maybe if you have a watch, you can just look down at your watch, think, okay, I have about 2 minutes left. I need to kind of wrap this up. When it comes to role plays, there's always going to be questions. The judge is always going to have a question for you. Maybe it's one, maybe it's two, but you need to make sure you have time accordingly to be able to answer those questions. So 1 to 2 minutes wrapping up is always enough time to answer questions. So you want to, when you wrap up, you want to gather up all your main points, and then you want to close accordingly. So you just kind of generally summarize everything you talked about and then go from there. And then you wrap up, then you can answer the judge's questions, and then you can end the role play. Thank you, it's been really nice talking to you. Something that you can do when you end a role play, I always like to have a business card. I just, with that scratch paper, I just rip it, little tiny business card about this size, write my name on it, write a number, and then I just hand it to them at the end of it. It seems professional. You can say, I'm going to call you back next week. We can talk about this meeting. You're not actually going to call them, but they like that kind of stuff. It's just a nice, simple visual aid, which you can leave with them, and it's really great. So visual aids. Visual aids are pretty important. So if you guys notice in that video, Jacob talked about how a picture is worth 1,000 words. So that's for if you're doing like a pre-planned event, you put that in your presentation, but in a role play, you can also put a picture. Visual aids are great because you can get bonus points for them with the judges. There's a scoring for that, but they also, it draws the judge's attention to something else besides you talking. Because if you're just talking for 10 minutes, sometimes it gets hard to always focus. You guys probably haven't been focusing on me this entire time. I don't necessarily blame you, but I showed you that video just a few seconds ago, and it gave you guys a chance to look at something else apart from me just talking. It's the same thing when you're in a role play. When you have that 10 minutes of prep time, you need to be writing stuff down to be able to show the judges. A lot of times it can be graphs, it can be a calendar, something like that. Maybe it can be a picture. Sometimes if I'm doing my event and it talks about like a hotel or something that we have in Hawaii, I'll just draw a picture of our hotel, and then I'll draw a little beach next to it. It looks terrible, but it doesn't matter because it lets the judge see something. And you can use your actual terrible artistic skills to your advantage. Sometimes when I'm handing my judge a terrible visual aid of a bad graph or something, I'll say, I do apologize for the terrible state of this graph. I just had my secretary write it up last night. She didn't have a lot of time, so I apologize for how bad it looks. I just drew that graph 10 minutes ago, and the judge knows that. It just brings back to humor. You know, you can literally say whatever you want in this role play. It's entirely up to you. So you decide if this role play is going to go great for you or if it's not. It's all up to you. One last little thing is you can either stand. You probably even never heard of people standing in a role play before, and it depends on the situation. For example, I've done a role play one time where I had to basically I met a customer in a store and I was just asking them, you know, how was your day going? Can I help you find anything? Now, in that situation, would I be standing or sitting when I'm talking to the customer? I'd be standing in real life. And that can actually give you a competitive advantage over the other competitors who you're competing against. If you stand up when you're talking to the judge will be like, well, why are you standing? And then they'll kind of realize, oh, in reality, we'd actually be standing. So there's little things like that set you apart. And then in the end, what really lets you win a role play is standing out. Because when you think about it, a judge has to judge 30 other different kids in a matter of about 2 to 3 hours. And a lot of them are going to be exactly like each other. So the ones they choose who win the entire thing are the ones that stand out the most. So standing out can be adding a little bit of humor. Maybe it's standing up or something like that. It's entirely up to you. I hope this video is able to give you guys some new tips, some new advice, and I hope you guys can take that advice to go on to compete and do well. Unfortunately, the Q&A questions and answering isn't working on my computer right now, so I can't answer any of your guys' questions you may have. But I hope you're able to learn from this and you can take that on to competing in the future. So make sure you guys tune in next month for the next Google Hangout, and then also let everyone else, friends and other DECA members know about this so they can gain some information as well. So thank you for watching.